WYT here, and I'm back with another video, guys. And today we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, guys, if you don't know what the Guardians of the Galaxy are, they're a ragtag team of anti-heroes, villains, and heroes who save the galaxy. So, basically, guys, Guardians of the Galaxy came out in 2014. It was a super gigantic hit. Probably going to be reviewing it at some point in the future. And it's one of my favorite Marvel movies. It could possibly, on any given day, be my favorite, but it probably isn't. But Guardians of the Galaxy stars Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Bradley Cooper, Dave Bautista, and Vin Diesel. So, obviously, guys, without trying to spoil anything too much in the first movie, we'll have a spoiler section in this one. Basically, the Guardians go against a villain, Ronan the Accuser, who is working for Thanos. They take him down, and yeah, obviously, the main characters are Star-Lord, Gamora, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, and of course, fan favorite, Groot. Also, other notable characters are Yondu and a couple of other characters. Yondu is a Ravager and kind of an anti-hero and kind of like a father figure to Peter. So, Volume 2 was mostly about family. In this movie, we meet Peter's father, who is Ego, and this is a bit of a spoiler. He is Ego, the living planet from the comics, and he, basically in this movie, finds Peter after apparently looking for him years. Obviously, we knew in the first movie that he was hired. Well, he hired Yondu to go bring him to him. Yondu obviously didn't listen. So, yeah, Yondu and him probably aren't on the greatest of terms. So, throughout this movie, we start off where there's a race of people who are golds or something like that. And to be honest, at first we thought they were like the antagonists. But to be honest, they weren't really that great in my opinion. To me, I thought they were just kind of there for more of a comic relief standpoint, while also being an antagonist and giving our people or our Guardians something to do. Overall, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a really funny and really good sequel. Obviously, in my opinion, not obviously, but I still gotta prefer the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie. While the music is still great and the moments are hilarious, I feel like there's a little overuse of comedy and jokes in this movie. While most of them did hit funny, Drax was funny in this movie. Even Rocket and Star-Lord had a couple of great cracks. And Yondu being funny also as well. So, yeah. So, I really did like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as a movie. Like I said, there's a couple of points where, the comedy is a little over the top, Drax especially, but I think his comedy was really great throughout the movie. Now, the CGI in this movie is absolutely fantastic. The planet Ego looks beautiful. All the fight scenes between characters like Gamora and her sister Nebula, and space with Rocket and Yondu, they all look great. There's so many Easter eggs in this movie, and yeah. So, really, in my opinion, this movie is a good sequel. Obviously, it's not kind of what I think a lot of people were expecting, but I think it delivers on many levels. Now, as an MCU movie, this is probably the craziest movie we've seen in the MCU. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy was probably the most crazy superhero movie we saw of all time, almost, I would say. And Guardians of the Galaxy 2 doubles down on the craziness. It is crazy. Obviously, in this movie, we really don't see any Thanos, which is a maybe a spoiler, but he's only referenced a couple times by the character of Nebula. So, overall, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is funny, it brings a lot of action, and it explores the Guardians and introduces so many new characters. I could say the plot and the story it's not anything new, but there's a lot of cool points that have never been explored in a comic book film before. The characters are great as usual. I feel like a couple standouts in this movie, Yondu, who got a lot more screen time than he did in the first one. I thought that Ego was okay in the movie. Of course, Kurt Russell is a good actor, and he played him with a lot of, like, charisma and a lot of energy, and you could definitely tell that, so I think I like that. Obviously, our main Guardians are great as usual. Baby Groot, who I was a little skeptical going in the movie, was great. The opening scene with him was really funny, and I'll talk about the after-credit scenes briefly, and then in another video. Alright, so guys, at this point, it's going to be complete spoilers. Obviously, the title of this video will say spoilers, so if you guys don't want to be spoiled for this movie, leave. I'll give you guys a couple seconds, but yeah, basically, we're just going to hop right into the spoiler section of this video. So, Ego is the villain. So, as we learned throughout the movie, the main villain is actually Peter's dad, Ego. We learn that he doesn't really care about Peter, is only using him for his power. Throughout the film, we learn that Ego is a celestial, which one of the people we learned about from like the original people, and eventually he's born on the planet. And Kurt Russell is his like human form. We learned a lot of stuff about Peter's backstory and about his mom, and it was very tragic and it was very like upsetting, and it was really cool because a lot of times we saw Peter kind of be mind controlled by his father, and a lot of times that'll last for a while. We'll see a hero fighting the hero, and I'm super glad they did not give that to us, as it would have seemed rushed and kind of out of theme for these Guardians of the Galaxy movies. So let's talk about a couple of the characters here. So Yondu's character really goes under a big character change, really proves that he is a good person. It isn't just kind of the Ravager ass, if you want to say that he was in the first one, very manipulative and in other ways. Obviously, him and Kraglin have a big role in this movie. If you guys don't know, Kraglin is played by James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, who directs the movie. So basically, Kraglin is kind of the right-hand man, and when he says something that gets a riot between the Ravagers, Yondu is kicked out and Taserface, ha ha ha, takes over. Obviously, there's a lot of great comedic moments when they're in that prison break or Ravager, when they're escaping there, between Yondu, Baby Groot, Kraglin, and Rocket Raccoon. So I think Rocket Raccoon's character was really cool in this movie, and I really liked the way they did with his character. They made him more of a parallel to Yondu, since they're in the movie, and they share almost all their time together in the film. Obviously, at the end of the movie, Yondu does sacrifice himself to save Peter, and it was kind of sad to see his character go, especially because I thought he was going to join the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because in the comics, Guardians of the Galaxy's original team, Yondu is actually one of the main members. So at the end, we see Kraglin eventually in the first after-credit scene, and at the end of the film, him kind of take over the mantle of Yondu. Obviously, I think that'll be explored more in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Infinity War, since Infinity War will be taking 4 years after this movie, and that's the next time we see the characters. Kraglin could possibly be one of the main Guardians. Now, with the Guardians, we added a couple of new additions. We got Mantis, who is a kind of a telepath, and she can feel your emotions and stuff. She obviously was set up in the whole Ego arc, and eventually became good to help them take down Ego. Also, we saw Nebula go from the dark side to the light. Obviously, she was a rival of her sister from the first movie, working for Ronan, and we really reveal a lot about her character and her emotions throughout the whole film, and we learn that she's not so bad. She's just been kind of like ruined and tortured her whole life, and she kind of comes to terms with her sister and really stops the rivalry. Obviously, again, I thought she was going to join the Guardians, but she kind of goes off in her own way, but she will eventually probably most likely be back for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Infinity War. So, let's just talk about a couple of other newer characters. So, obviously, Sylvester Stallone played a character who's named Star or something like that. And it was kind of cool at the end, in one of the after-credit scenes, we do see the original Guardians of the Galaxy team, minus Yondu, come together. Obviously, a couple of these characters were played by more famous actors, like Vin Rames, like I said before, Sylvester Stallone, Miley Cyrus, who voiced one of the original Guardians, and Michael Rosenbaum, who played the original Lex Luthor on Smallville. So, there's a couple really cool Easter eggs in this movie, like that the Stan Lee cameo theory that he was a watcher kind of came true. He wasn't necessarily a watcher, but he was more of a consultant, as we did see the Watchers for the first time in the MCU. A lot of other cool stuff that we also did see in this movie involved the character of Groot. We saw a lot of his powers and kind of how he can work as Baby Groot, not being as overpowered he was in the original. We do see a funny after credit scene of Groot actually being a teenager. I thought that was hilarious, so yeah. Also, the gold people, they're people who were kind of seemed like a little bit of a waste in the movie, did wind up having a huge reveal in the after-credit scene, revealing that they are creating Adam. So, most likely, 99%, this Adam, who is in a cocoon in the movie, will be Adam Warlock, one of the most powerful Marvel one of the most powerful Marvel characters in the comics, who was actually one to wield all the Infinity Stones with the gems, after the fall of Thanos, I think, in the comics. I'm not a big comic fan when it comes to, like, the Adam Warlock and stuff like that, so correct me if I'm wrong. So, basically, guys, I thought Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a very fun, entertaining, and also some heartfelt moments. So, if you guys like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, make sure you guys leave a comment down below, like, comment, subscribe. So, I'm going to give Guardians of the Galaxy an 8 out of 10. I thought Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a very fun and great action-packed sequel, and it was still very good and it lived up to the hype that I think it was almost getting. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to give it a like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.